Hello and welcome to a special commentary track for Judge of Character, episode 25, The Phantom. Here with me via Skype tonight is Miss Christi Esterle. I think I'm saying that right.
Esterle, actually, but yes.
Well, what she said then.
Yes, and I'm obviously the voice of Diva on Musical Hell.
And the big ball of flame that's on the screen right now.
Yes.
So, I guess the first place to start is how this came about. When I was working on, I believe it was episode 22, I realized that the 25th episode was coming up, and while that's not exactly a huge milestone, it was kind of a big deal. So I realized I needed to do
Good
something.
as milestone as any.
Yeah, as good a milestone as any, exactly. So I realized I needed to do something a little bigger to step up my game just a smidgen. So I thought about it. I was like, well, who have I got lined up for that episode? What character am I looking at? And I realized it was the Phantom. And I was like, well, there's only one person I can think of that would probably want a hand in all this, and that would be Christy.
Yes. Obviously my shtick is musicals, and I've mentioned elsewhere Phantom is one of my favorites, so it's kind of a natural fit for me. Um, so yeah.
Yeah, I just sent a message on Twitter asking. I was like, hey, do you want to throw in your 2 cents?
Yeah, believe I said something about having several dollars to say on the subject, but I could whittle it down to 2 cents.
Well, and several dollars is always a good thing because I mean the character. There is a lot to talk about here.
Yeah, we only really covered the novel, the silent movie, and the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, and there's like a gazillion. If we did all the adaptations, we'd probably still be doing this episode.
Oh God, yes. I mean, there's even I think there was an adaptation from the '80s. It was a miniseries, I think.
There was a 1990 miniseries
Or,
starring Charles Dance.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that
wrap
might
your
have been
mind
it.
around that, kids. Tywin Lannister was the Phantom of the Opera at one point.
Or
That
even
was actually
better,
the first version I ever saw.
Freddy Krueger as the Phantom.
Oh yes, the 1989 slasher version.
Yeah. That opening right there. I couldn't think of anything good to bring the Diva character into the show other than to just randomly teleport into my house.
Yeah.
But it worked, and I do like that little bit where it's like, aren't you worried about a demon just randomly appearing? It's like, ma'am, I live in Florida, the naked, crazy capital of the world. We have people that eat each other's faces here.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of real life writing the plot here because I was working on planning a New York trip myself. I'm going to be going end of July, so it's kind of like okay, so maybe she wanted to go to New York to see Phantom and just kind of misjudged her exit.
Just a wee bit. I mean, Florida is kind of off.
Well, one of the things about the main thing about Diva actually is she's not actually very good at the whole demon thing, so sometimes she tries to manifest on Earth and misses by a couple thousand miles.
Oh, that seems accurate. Now, the special effect admittedly could have been done a little better.
You
Part
can
of
see the
it,
line at the bottom, but actually
yeah.
it's actually it's one of the better effects I've been represented as.
Well, I had to. Basically, the way I did it was I just took a picture of a sun and a couple of different flame effects and layered them together and then keyed them out. And what I was trying to do was I was trying to pre-key them so that when you lay the footage on top of the timeline in the editor, the black is automatically gone, but it didn't
Hmm.
pan out like I wanted to. So I had to go back and manually key it, and unfortunately, it didn't pan out like I wanted to. But it was a good effort, so
Yeah, I
it
think it works
stands.
fairly well.
Yeah. And no one expects this to be a massive Hollywood production anyway, so.
No, that's pretty much one of the main reasons why I don't do visuals. I don't have the special effects budget for it or skill for that matter.
But you make it work, and that's actually the important thing. Is as long as it works, who cares?
Yeah.
This version of the story is my absolute favorite.
Yes, this is the 25th anniversary concert at Royal Albert Hall, which I've also used on my Phantom and Love Never Dies reviews for the stage footage. And, if you can't actually get to New York or London to see a live performance, it is the next best thing.
Oh, I agree. When I first was introducing people to Phantom of the Opera, I used the Schumacher version, which we'll get to
Ugh.
shortly, because that was the only version I was actually familiar with, other than the 1925 version, this one right here.
Hmm.
But then when I discovered that, randomly while going through Walmart, of all places, um, I immediately said this is the one I've got to use from now on, and that's the version I've used to introduce people to the story because it's easily the best interpretation of it so far, or at least the stage version anyway.
Yes.
As far as the whole story itself, I still stand by the Lon Chaney version.
Yeah, can't go wrong with that.
No, in fact, I would love to see. I'm normally against Hollywood remakes because they screw them up so badly, but I would actually be interested in seeing a remake of the 1925 version as long as it was done right.
You know, there has yet to be, I think, a really well, apart from the 1925 version, there's yet to be a really good novel-based movie of Phantom. A
Right.
lot of them go, way off the subject with the whole acid throwing in the face stuff and things like that.
Or the record steam press, and that Gaston joke.
That Gaston joke was inevitable.
Well, and I don't know why I was just writing the script and then I got to that part and I thought of that stupid meme where no one does X like Gaston. I was like, oh, that'll fit. Let's just throw that in there. It's not my proudest joke, but it works.
Well, Beauty and the Beast is one of my favorite movies, so I'll roll with it.
Yeah, I need to go back and watch that. I have not seen that in forever. But what was I talking about now?
Um, Completely lost. We're talking about like the book, doing a really good book based.
Oh, that's right. Um,
Which,
yeah, there so far has not been a film that has perfectly hit on all of the elements of the Phantom's
yeah,
story. I would love to see that happen, but
yeah, maybe not. There was actually a Kickstarter campaign for an animated version that looked like it was going to hew pretty close to the book. I don't know if anything will come of
oh
it,
yeah, I
but
saw that. In fact, I think I got to that from a link you put on Twitter.
yeah,
But it did look good. I was impressed with it.
they're still working on it. They've actually managed to raise some money for the script stage, so
I have to say, so far, this episode has been my favorite one to do as far as the editing because it turned out so well.
yeah,
With every episode that I do, I get better and better at it. And this one, the way the color correction turned out, the
yeah,
pacing, I was very proud of myself with this one. In fact, there's actually a scene later in this episode where we see footage from this stage production, and you can hear the song in the background. And right when they talk about flames in the song, you see him cut the rope with a candle.
right.
Pure serendipity on my part, but I liked how it
Love
turned
it
out
when that
anyway.
happens.
That seems to happen a lot to me when I edit an episode together. It's just everything seems to line up perfectly without even trying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like here in these shots where it cuts to just you on the flame version of you anyway,
Yeah.
that was mostly because I misjudged how much time I'd given myself to respond to the dialogue and had to finagle it a little.
Yeah.
It's a fun word, finagle.
Finagle. Yeah.
So you can definitely tell I used the Albert Hall performance for the majority of the reference here.
Right.
Oh God, that makeup.
Yeah.
I mean, that's easily this. This is the second time I've used Lady Gaga in a joke, and it still hurts. And I agree.
Where did you get that
I
picture?
don't know. I just did a Google search of Phantom images, and I saw that, and I was like, yes, that is what he should have looked like.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the bigger elements
Yeah.
of a
I
Phantom
actually,
movie.
had a first draft of the script, and then I realized, we really don't talk much about his disfigurement and how it affects him, and that's
I
kind of the
know.
central part
I,
of the
I
character.
know you said that,
So
and I
we
looked
had to
back at it, and I was
insert
just
this
like,
right here.
yeah. But I mean, we were able to time it right. But that's another element of the story that I don't think will. Oh, that
I
mask.
love that mask again. The scene.
That was
Uh,
another one where I was just randomly searching for images, and I was trying to find an older mask that was full face or full facial, and then I saw that I was like, oh, I gotta use that. I don't care if it makes sense or not. But any movie that uses the Phantom of the Opera as a basis, unless they go with the full facial disfigurement, it's not that good to me, at least in that regard.
yeah.
And I would love. That's another thing I'd love to see if they ever did a proper film adaptation of the story, is if they really went the distance and did the full body disfigurement.
Right.
And it could be done.
Considering,
It's
considering what they've been able to do with, characters like Two-Face and things like that, I think they could do some really, really impressive stuff with the special effects they have available now.
oh yeah, they honestly don't have an excuse other than they just don't want to do it. But
Yes, exactly.
that's Hollywood logic, and we're not a part of Hollywood, so we don't get it.
Yeah.
We're not part of the in crowd there.
No, they don't invite me to anything. It sucks.
Yeah. Oh, and the artwork here.
Yes, I was actually looking through. I found that image and I was like, "Oh."
That is actually
I was
not the.
actually looking, for, a lot of the Gerard Butler, Emmy Rossum romance novel style fan art that was out like about 10 years ago. But I saw that and I'm like, "Yep, that does it."
And you know what? That's actually not the worst one I found.
No.
I think the worst one I found was it was a Gerard Butler version, but he was all massive and ripped with a banana hammock.
Yeah.
And I saw that I was like, no, too much. That's too much.
One
And
of
I
the things
really
I
did
love
almost
doing
fall
about
out of my chair there.
crossovers is it allows Diva to be a little more theatrical and indulge her demonic abilities a bit more, like, taking away your voice. So I get to have fun with that.
I know some people are probably going to look at this and go, "Well, why is your hand not burning because you're touching the flame?" It's a review. Just shut up.
Yeah, a wizard did it.
Exactly. I have fireproof abilities. It's canon now. The sad thing is I have never actually watched the entirety of the Loncini film. I've seen most of it, but I have not been able to sit down and watch the entire thing. I need
I
to.
Yeah. And being geeky the way I am, I actually have the Criterion Collection, which has both the 1929 cut, but also the longer 1925 cut, which has a lot of extra footage in it. And either one's pretty good.
I mean, that's just a classic movie, no matter how you cut it.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of it has a lot of cheesy silent film acting, but really the atmosphere and especially Lon Chaney's performance carries it.
And the
So,
makeup
and it is
too.
in public domain now, people, so go to YouTube or wherever and look it up.
Yes, you have no excuse. Go see this movie now. You
Love that
can.
picture of Michael Crawford. When I start describe him as, being a kind of a goofy comic actor, which he is, if those of you who've seen Wall-E, the footage from Hello Dolly they use in that, he's the man in in those clips.
That's another movie I haven't seen yet. Is Wall-E. I'm
Yeah.
so behind.
But yeah, he was, mostly the comic relief guy, and then he did Phantom of the Opera, and suddenly he was doing like the dark, spooky character.
And he pulled it
Was
off so well.
Yeah. Now, this part we had a little issue with
That's
because
right. We it
I
took.
have to explain. I mentioned that Norm Lewis is the first Black Phantom to perform on Broadway. The on Broadway there is the qualifier because there have been actually a couple other Black actors who have done the part. So you filled that in, and I'm like, no, that's not Norm Lewis. That's like a guy who did this in South Africa.
Yeah, and see, because what happened was I typed in Norm Lewis Phantom on Google, and
Yeah.
I saw the picture of Norm Lewis, and I saw the other picture, and I was like, well, I can't really tell from the mask, but it certainly looks like him. And then I sent you the footage, you're like, no, that's not.
So that was, yeah, there was that, and there's also Robert Guillaume who did the role in Los Angeles. But about the time we were doing this was, right before Lewis was starting on Broadway, so there wasn't actually a whole lot of pictures of him in costume.
Yeah,
So
there are
confusion.
now. So if you go look him up, he actually, from what I can tell, he seemed to do a pretty good job. Obviously, I haven't heard
Yeah,
him sing, so.
yeah. It's one of the reasons I'm going in next month is I really want to see him do the part, and I've heard, he seems to be very polarizing, but what I've heard of him so far sounds really good.
Hmm. And the Schumacher film.
Yes.
In my defense, I watched it and I enjoyed it, but it was again the first version of the story I had ever actually
Yeah.
got involved with. It was
And
because of an ex-girlfriend that actually it got my attention.
Yeah. And like I say, I get that. The whole nostalgia factor and the sentimental value, that's pretty important. So
Mm.
I do get that, even if I set you on fire.
Flame on! Yes, the my After Effects skills aren't that great, but I make do with what I have.
Yeah.
and I
The sooty face is what sells it.
and I was about to say, I went the distance with that one. I actually went to my next door neighbor Jay, who some of you might have seen in some of the other episodes, because they had a bag of charcoal briquettes out on the backyard for grilling. I just grabbed one, put it in a little baggie, crushed it up, and that's what I did with it. And unfortunately, it was my dad who pointed out, so You suited up your face, but you neglected to suit up your arms or your neck. Like, damn it. Of course, by that time the episode had already gone up, so oh well.
Whatever.
And also, unfortunately, this is the last episode that was on Blip before
Yes,
the
right
great
after that, we both got cut
purge.
from Blip, which, sucks.
So it's like,
But
yeah, thanks for
actually, I'm
nothing.
YouTube hasn't been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I've had some content issues, but nothing's actually been blocked yet. And,
No,
view count has actually gone up significantly since I've been on there. So,
now in my case, I also have not had too many problems with the content ID, but my view count has not significantly risen. But then again, I don't have much of a presence on YouTube, so. Um, but no, the content ID, it has been problematic at times, but I've mostly bypassed it by just going back and recutting the episode a little bit.
right,
Like the most recent one I did was an episode on. Most recently uploaded the episode on Dracula,
right.
and I got a content claim for the footage I used from Little Monsters where he attacks the little girl.
Mm-hmm.
So I trimmed it down and I mirrored the image, but it still got a content claim. So I had to go back further and zoom in on his face a little bit, and that apparently cleared it. Um, there's only one video that's up right now that I have been really trying to dispute, and that's the Indiana Jones episode.
Yeah,
They put a claim for the music there, but it happens in a scene in the episode where you see me go off on my little mini adventure, and it has to stay because otherwise the joke doesn't work.
right.
So I've disputed that, and I've yet to hear anything back from them, but I'm fairly positive it'll turn out okay. And if not, I can put in some generic royalty-free music.
Right.
Um, that was actually something I had thought of but didn't actually write down in the script, was a clip of me playing my keyboard with a phantom mask and a cape, but then I realized I didn't have the phantom mask anymore, so couldn't do
Oh,
it. That, and I didn't want people to think I was ripping off Todd in the Shadows.
yes.
She is, in my opinion, so far, she is the best Christine that I've seen yet.
Yeah,
Far and away better than Emmy Rossum.
yeah, Sierra Burgess, I've kind of got a complicated thing for her. I really do like her as Christine. She is a very good actress, but she has a very large and extremely vocal fan base who,
Yeah.
um, squeal, basically, want her to be in everything forever, and it gets kind of frustrating.
It's like, I get it, you like her, but you know what? She's
Yes.
not fit for every role. And like I said earlier, that was that little bit of serendipitous editing.
Yeah.
I also like how this bit turned out.
Yes. It was. We kind of discussed. Did we want to discuss the sequel? And we're like, no, he didn't. I was like, well, why don't we just make it an elephant in the room and we'll blow it up?
That how did it fit bit? No innuendo intended there. I kind of pretty much lifted that from an old Groucho Marx joke. This morning I shot an elephant in my pajamas. How I
What
got
was
my
he doing
pajamas, I'll never know.
I'll never know.
That's something that people actually are a little surprised at. Is I like the older comedians like the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges, of course, and Red Skelton. It's like,
Oh,
why
yeah.
is that a surprise? I think I've pretty much lost my security deposit already.
Yeah. Incidentally, inflama is, as far as I can figure out, the Latin equivalent of flame on. That was my semi-geeky inside joke for the episode. One of them.
Um, yeah, originally in the upcoming ending here, I was originally going to actually have the Lord's Prayer in Latin, but then I thought, no, that's a little too much even for me. So I just went with the Evil Dead standby.
Yeah.
But as far as the security deposit bit, if you've been watching my show and if you went back and saw the Mary Sue episode 6, that bit where my friend Chris is standing in front of the green screen and he's waving the guns around. I included it in the blooper reel, but there's a bit where he accidentally hit the ceiling with the fake shotgun, and he did leave a hole. And I told him it's okay. I've accidentally put a hole in my ceiling before with my real gun. No, I
Yeah.
didn't shoot it. It was my rifle, and I lifted it up and wasn't paying attention. And there's a nice little half crescent hole where the barrel hit.
No.
So I do intend to fix it before I move out. I'm
Yeah.
not that bad of a tenant.
Yeah. What up?
It's like, how you doing?
Yeah.
That line there could have been done a little better, but yeah, for some reason I'm just really proud of the editing in this one, and also that suit face. That's going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah.
So some of the better makeup effects I've done in the
Hmm.
show, and I intend to get better. I actually have a lot of plans to make the show better in just about every production value I can think of.
Right.
Makeup, costumes, all that stuff.
Hmm.
It just takes time and money I don't have.
Yeah.
And subtle geek reference for all of you out there, that is Dante's Inferno from the Divine
Yes.
Comedy. Seemed
There
appropriate.
there are several loose references to the general layout of the Inferno and Dante in musical hell.
It just seemed to fit so perfectly.
Yeah.
And my girlish screams.
Well, this is kind of the Jim Henson ending. If you can't think of anything, blow something up.
Exactly. And this is the only episode where we don't have my sign off line. But
Right.
then again, it's hard to say anything when you're
When
screaming
you're
in
screaming it
agony.
on fire.
Brief little I guess behind the scenes kind of thing. If you've again, if you've been watching the show and you've seen it evolve over the last year or so, you'll notice that after the start of the new year, I switched over to an Art Deco font, and really Art Deco in general.
Hmm.
I've just liked the Art Deco aesthetic and everything. It's notes
Yeah.
for Blip TV. I gotta edit that out. um, it's just a great little thing. But that's the commentary. I hope you all enjoyed, and
I
I'll
know
see you
I did.
around for the next ones.
All right.